live here from Toklaw, not to be confused with Thuklao. They are a remote group of atolls in the South Pacific Ocean, halfway between Hawaii and New Zealand. We're here today with the Sparkling Tuna Cup number 23. That's 2, and then a 3 after that, but not 2 plus 3, because that would be 5. Hashtag math. I am, of course, your host, Yaku of Zaku, and with me today is el protector de fo, que es un maestro de GoPros, Light _ VIP. How we doing, Light?
See, Papi, it's all about that phone. What is up, Yaku? What's up, everyone? It's great to be back here with another edition of Sparkling Tuna Cup with, I need confirmation by Kuro, but I believe the largest edition, exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket. The bracket, it's massive, it's throbbing, it's beautiful.
It really is. I don't even need confirmation from Kuro. We thought last week's Sparkling Tuna Cup was going to be the biggest one that we had for a while. Well, this week it almost feels like it's twice as big. And of course, we're going to be starting it with a good old TvP with players who we are pretty familiar with over here in the top right-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the top right corner of Data Under the Sea. We have the blue Terran player who is currently teamless, I think, or is he still with Open Speed? Yeah, currently teamless. He is Azure.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Data Under the Sea, we have the teal Protoss player himself going for a proxy 2-gate opener representing Team GDA. It is AZTEX.
Right off the gate. I mean, the floodgates have opened.
The floodgates have opened. We may have a large pool, a large bracket, a lot of players, but that won't change the fact that this tournament can be insanely cheesy. We do see Azure going for a bit of an NG block here to be a little bit annoying. Meanwhile, he still hasn't gone into the main base. He still doesn't know. Now he does know about the fact that there's a proxy gateway somewhere on the map.
Yeah, this has got to be at least a little bit concerning, but this has got to be ringing every single alarm in Azure's head. Thankfully, he is able to respond, and he is able to wall things off, but I don't know, like, that supply depot was a little bit late. It doesn't have that much health on it. Still, it's even with a Reaper and a Marine, they get very tanky.
Yeah, exactly. The Zelts break on through into the main base. One Zelt is going to get surrounded. The second will get a kill on a Marine. Eventually, this will get cleaned up, but again, how much damage is going to be dealt before that happens? 3 SCVs go down.
Yeah, not to mention the eBay and the supply depot were both kills rather than cancels. That's a lot of resources lost here for Azure. It's still salvageable, thankfully. He does have the bunker almost finished up, but to say that he's behind is a little bit of an understatement.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this CC is so delayed. Losing the Marines earlier means it's going to take that much longer to clean all this up. Eventually, he will clean it up. Don't get me wrong. Like, this won't end the game, but the Stalkers may, as we have 2 more Stalkers behind this.
It's like, this won't end the game, but this might.
Yeah, exactly. More boys are being pulled as well to try and get us around again. Azure, he needs to try and keep this base alive. He doesn't want to force a cancel. He does get a kill on one of those Zelts, but again, there's still so much firepower. There's still just so much kiting potential, and he's forced to cancel.
Yeah, and I mean, he was already getting that delayed, even if he was able to somehow finish that construction. The fact that he's only now working on that natural base, I'm not sure how many different ways we could say that Azure is behind in this scenario.
Yeah,
but we'll figure out a way.
He's not dead though, and I think that's what's important, is that there is definitely a way to come back here, and we'll see where he goes with this. He's throwing down a second Rax instead of a starport, so I'm not going to be seeing any drops anytime soon, but it looks like he may be working towards a more aggressive push, ground-based push, I should say, as Azure does go across the map with the Reaper, and hey, you know what? He's getting some probe kills.
And I think this is the right response here from Azure. If you were to go for a starport, he's not really going to have much gas to produce anything out of it anyway, so yeah, may as well just get more Marines, get a lot more units that are offensive and don't cost that much. Man of gun, pretty good. SCVs, pulling and surrounding, even better.
You know, like, mate, you pull the boys, you're gonna win the game, and that's what we saw. Oh my god, 2 of those Stalkers went down before the recall finished. Only a single Stalker survived that, so honestly, like best case scenario there for Azure, he's able to at least deal some damage here to what AZTEX has been investing into. The proxy has been scattered with the cyclone. He can clean it up. He should be able to get a kill on this pylon before we get a warp in, especially a slow warp in.
He canceled the stalker, tried to get the warp in. That was yeah, a little bit unfortunate, I suppose, there from AZTEX. And now at the point where the worst is overlight. I mean, more than that, I think Azure, he's got himself back on even footing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're kind of relatively even when it comes to the worker count. We have our orbital here. He was able to, again, stifle the economy a little bit, killing a couple of probes earlier. Like, it's still not ideal by any means, don't get us wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts working towards, like, a big, like, I don't know, 3 tank push with a bit of a +1 timing, with boys being pulled.
Well, I know what I would do. But there's a reason why Azure is, you know, playing at a much higher level than I am.
You should really, what you should say is, I know what Hon Mono would do.
Exactly. Do I? Does any of us really know for certain what Hon Mono is going to do at any point?
No, but boys will be pulled at some point. I think we know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Meanwhile, we do see that, again, AZTEX back at home, standard opener or standard response. He goes for a Twilight Council, he's going for a Robo, getting into Blink Stalkers. Little bit of a Gateway Explosion, nothing too major, but, like, you know, everything here is looking pretty standard. Azure just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, he's just trying to get some confirmation here. Of course, he doesn't want to scan. He's trying to be a little bit conservative when it comes to using his energy.
Yeah, and at least with his scout,
he's just going to be playing safe.
yeah, he's going to be playing safe. He does lose his Cyclone, but he saw the blink, so he knows at least, okay, it's a Twilight Council opener. He knows that there shouldn't be a Stargate. He knows he doesn't have to, like, invest in missile turrets here in the main or anything like that. He is going for one at the natural, but this is less to do with oracles and more just in case there was a Dark Train.
Yeah, you never want to be caught out of that, and now that there is that missile turret, you know, Azure, he's free to throw down as many mules as he wants. He doesn't need to save those scans, and his mineral income is shooting straight ahead.
Yeah, exactly. You know, his work account's looking half decent. You know, he's working on +1. +1 is about to finish up as well. So he will have those upgrades to work with back at home across the map. AZTEX has his third and is taking up even further, going for Robotics Bay as soon as Azure scans.
Yeah, this is a good call from the side of AZTEX, but for some reason it feels like it's a little bit too late. I'm actually really worried for AZTEX now, looking at the army and counterattack potential here from Azure.
Yeah, I mean, we have those 3 tanks. We have a couple of medevacs. We have the first one out. I'm sure we're going to see a couple more meet up with this in the middle of the map. But AZTEX at the same time is pushing out. He's going to try and catch these tanks unsieged.
Yeah, he does have Blink now, so there's a lot of maneuverability for this Protoss army. There's a stim, and a lot of Stalkers are starting to be picked off. Not sure if that was the right call to use those force fields there, but I guess it's a moot point anyway as all the sentries go down.
Yeah, he was trying to do whatever he could at that moment. Meanwhile, AZTEX was able to snipe that medevacs. Now there's no more healing here with that main army. We have 2 medevacs on the way. Is there enough buffer here to protect these tanks?
Well, for the time being, there is, again, the only thing that AZTEX has to work with right now is Blink Stalkers, but a couple of Disruptors are getting out, and you know, a couple of Stalkers, not Stalkers, sorry, Zealots could also act as a really nice buffer, but AZTEX decides it's not worth the casualties. He is going to retreat back to the safety of the other third location.
Yeah, he's going to rotate around, try and expand second, third base behind this. Meanwhile, the Stalkers of AZTEX are going for a bit of a surround. They want to try and catch these tanks, and the tanks are looking quite exposed.
Yeah, at least 1, maybe 2 of them will go down, but here comes the rest of the reinforcements to just complete the sandwich on top of this Stalker army.
Oh, exactly. Another recall is forced. Not before 2 Stalkers go down. So again, Azure trading relatively well. He did lose one of his tanks though, and that's kind of the big kind of staying factor here. He's trying to take a third base on location. A very fast Ghost Academy behind this as well. My God.
Yeah, I'm liking this from Azure. He's anticipating the tech switches coming out from AZTEX. He's actually stopped producing tanks and is starting to make mines now. He's thinking that, okay, Charged Archon is a pretty standard transition from here for Protoss. That's not really the case right now for AZTEX, but that's mostly because Azure has forced it to not be the case.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's still going to come down to the army, to the engagements, because we have Disruptors. All it takes is 1. How good is the splitting here going to be for Azure when those nodes come out?
That's to be determined. Well, good split on the bio, but not the best split on the tanks. One of them does get taken out, but again, we're starting to reach a point where tanks fall off a little bit, dive straight on top of the disruptors, takes them out. That was the moneymaker, the backbone of AZTEX army, and with that, I think the rest of the back is breaking.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, mate, you may get a tank, but I'm going to get all of your disruptors as well. We need a couple more reinforcements, though, because we are running out of steam a little bit, but it still looks like it's barely enough to take down the shield battery and take down all of these probes.
I tell you what, though, the boys are being pulled, and the boys are dying as well. No! We mostly have Marauders here, and I tell you what, like, Marauders don't do anything against boys.
Exactly. AZTEX, he does hold on to his natural base, but he lost his third, he lost his fourth, or his backup third as well. He lost his disruptors. They were completely reset when it comes to the disruptor count. He is working on Colossi, but he does not have extended thermal lance.
He doesn't have extended thermal lance. He doesn't have the resources to get a gateway buffer. Yeah, even though there's only one tank remaining and not that many Marauders, just pure Marines, if they dive on top of this, can just take out the Colossus and take everything else out, really.
Yeah, as you said, it does happen as the Colossus goes down. We don't have another on the way. We're going to have +2, which is definitely something. And AZTEX took a really nice lead early on with his proxy, but the follow-up was just a little bit too strong here with the Marauders, with the tanks. Solid target fire on the Medivacs, but it's not going to be enough.
GG is called, and Azure takes game number 1. I gotta tell you, like, I don't know why I was so worried after the opening. I kind of forgot for a sec that Azure kind of has a godly TvP in particular. It has been, historically anyway, I believe his best matchup for a very long time.
Yeah, as we saw, for a good reason, Azure does come back quite well with that solid timing. I'm a little bit torn on what happened in the middle of the map when everything started, before the push at the third base, when the sentries got caught out. Like, part of me thought it was a good thing for AZTEX to engage with the tanks early on and slow the push down, but he did end up losing all of his sentries, and that's a lot of wasted energy. There's a lot of potential there that was just gone immediately, right?
Yeah, I think maybe he didn't quite realize how many Marines were really supporting those tanks as well. Because you are right, where ideally if you see the Terran player push out with Marines or with tank and bio, you try to get the tanks while they're isolated, and that was the case here with Azure when he was pushing out. But it's data C. There's a lot of little corners that you don't really have eyes on that bio can be a little bit sneaky and hide a little bit better in.
Definitely. Oof. And with that, GG, well played. Azure does take the first game of this series, but now we go into game number 2, and we have one of the more unorthodox, one of the less popular maps already coming out.
Yeah, kind of surprised that this is our map number 2. I mean, we had to wait until the finals last week to even see it.
True.
But not this week. We're seeing it immediately. It's Moondance. We're over here in the bottom right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom right. We have the blue Terran player coming down all the way from the land of Brisbane. He, of course, is the regent of Brisbane, as we have, Royan up here in Singapore, and Oreo taking a bit of a break. He is representing himself. We have Azure.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Moondance, we have the Teal Protoss player himself, representing Team GDA. It is AZTEX. And before we get too ahead of ourselves, I want to give a massive shout out to Calibre in the chat for throwing around 100 bits. Thank you so much, Calibre. And I hope you have a good time, because we do have some of those Juggernaut boys in the bracket. Yeah,
not just that 100 bits. Thanks a lot for the resub as well. I remember looking at that and thinking, all right, I gotta remind Light to shout him out, and then I forgot to remind him. So yeah, shout out to that resub 8 months in a row. It's much appreciated, Calibre.
Puppy.
And immediately,
mate, it's happening. I didn't want it to happen, but it's happening. Not again, mate. We have a second gas, we have a cyber core, we have a proxy pylon in the natural Azure. is about to get proxy stargated even.
Oh yeah. Come on, Void Rays and Shield Batteries. I want to see it again.
Oh god.
It was the first thing I thought of, Light, when I saw the pocket bases on Moondance when the maps were first announced. And now I'm finally glad that we're gonna see it come to fruition.
Are you glad? It's like we thought this era was over.
Not glad. Look, I'm glad that somebody else is gonna have to deal with it,
like,
or maybe not because Azure scouts it immediately.
Oh, sure, he goes in with his Reaper. He scouts at the pylon. The probe goes down. Sad face in the chat. Happy face in the chat as well. And just like that, forces a cancel.
Well, I guess I'm gonna be the only one who died to this build. Still,
no,
one day.
Not just you. I know you were probably asleep at the time, but fun fact: our Rakshir match against Team Super, the Trigger did this against Vindicta.
Last week.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago. Right, that's how it ended up being a tie.
Yeah.
In their round.
Yeah. Vindicta did get proxy Void Raid in a very disgusting fashion. It's still fresh in my mind. But thankfully, Azure, he checks, he scouts, he confirms, he shuts it down.
Yeah. I think that's a rule for any Terran player who wants to join Team Cranky, or the Cranky Ducklings. Die to proxy Void Rays at least once.
Oh, God.
In a televised match, I mean.
Exactly. Well, thankfully, that is not going to be the case here. AZTEX is forced to transition. His tech is going to be delayed. His own Oracle is going to be delayed as well because he had to rebuild the Stargate. So a really good start here from Azure. Not the biggest of starts, but again, it is a nice lead to have at the start of the game.
Yeah, it does also mean that pretty much everything is going to be uncontested here by the natural base. These Reapers and this one Hellion going to have a lot of freedom until the Oracle pops out. But even then, how many probes can Azure take out before this gets eliminated?
Oh yeah, exactly. Only one probe in the end. That Oracle timing was beautiful. Just exactly what AZTEX needed. He shuts everything down. And looking at the vision of Azure, he actually didn't see the pocket base being taken here by AZTEX.
Ooh. That's definitely something he's gonna have to keep in mind. I feel like Azure, he's probably gonna go for another 2-base push regardless, but yeah, I'm not sure if he'll be content just containing AZTEX in these 3 bases.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm sure he should suspect something weird because when he got into the main base, he saw the lack of gateways, he saw the lack of production, and that money has to be spent somewhere, right? So maybe in the back of his mind, there is a 3rd base, but it's always good to be aware and have confirmation of such a thing. Otherwise, he may be playing from behind if he doesn't recognize how greedy his opponent is being.
Oh. As a wise man once said, it's not real until you confirm it.
There you go. Who said that?
I did. I just did.
God. Meanwhile, double Oracle gets a crossover at the same time. The Oracles did run into these Widow Mines, but the Widow Mines do end up borrowing. Where's the reaction? Oh no!
The Phoenix was right there. No! The probe's bunched up on top of the Widow Mine line. That feels bad. Even more mines are going down, and Azure is not sated just yet. He is not sated with these 15 probes. That's basically an entire mineral line.
Run, puppy, run, run! The Widow Mine is going to reset in the main base. It's going to reset in the natural base as well. How many more shots are going to be going up?
Well, is it even going to go for the probes, or is it going to try to take out the Phoenixes? It goes for even more probes. And AZTEX, I mean, with 3 bases, you got to get handed to him. He's able to reproduce those probes very, very quickly, but being on equal footing with his opponent right now is not where he wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly. There is the revelation. Finally, this Widow Mine is going to get cleaned up. There was an investment into an armory behind this, by the way, so Azure invested so much into that drop, and now the push is coming. A bit of a 1-2 punch. The drop cripples the economy, and the main push will end the game. AZTEX barely has any army, but he does have a stasis. Will it go off?
Will it go off, and what will it take with it?
Does he see?
They're not splitting up, but they were split just well enough for him. Not that many Marines, honestly, to be taken.
Yeah.
Colossus coming out with extended thermal lance, but feels like it's too late.
I mean, mate, because of how greedy AZTEX was, he has one gateway. This is his production. One gate, one Stargate, one Robo. He invested so much into a third Nexus, so much into his probes. He was far too greedy, and now he's being punished for it because he barely has any units.
Yeah, funnily enough, 1-1-1 does not work out too well for Protoss compared to Terran.
Yeah, it's not quite the same. Unfortunately, meanwhile, we even have turrets being thrown. We have the crawl of turrets. Oh my god.
He's leapfrogging the turrets. Who needs tanks when your opponent's units are all in the air? And yes, I'm including the Colossus in that. These turrets are actually useful against the Colossus.
Yeah, they can literally hit everything that AZTEX has right now. It's insane. Meanwhile, this is what I'm worried about. Azure, he's checking. He's trying to push on in. He still doesn't know about the natural. He doesn't know about the pocket base. Otherwise, he would be punishing it right now.
Yeah, AZTEX isn't in a great economic position, but he's stable enough to sustain his production.
Yeah. Arguably, he has the equal economy of his opponent right now. He's oversaturated, don't get me wrong, so Azure is still in a better place. But again, Azure is in the dark about that natural. He just doesn't know.
Well, a couple of Phoenixes do get taken out, though. And yeah, I mean, not scouting the natural wouldn't be too big of a deal if Azure is able to just kill AZTEX entirely. But the more AZTEX is camping up here in the main base and whatnot, the more effective this pocket base is going to be. But, as you said, it was in the back of his mind, and now he confirms it.
Yeah, he does end up confirming. There we go. AZTEX is forced to pull the trigger. He cannot lose his pocket base. And with this, he's going to lose every single Phoenix, every single Oracle. He only has Colossi left.
This bunker is so smart, by the way. From Azure, the Colossus actually aren't targeting down the Marines or the SCVs or even the Cyclones. They are targeting a bunker, which, I mean, Colossus, they barely tickle a bunker.
Yeah, they do almost nothing to it. Meanwhile, the Vikings are here to zone away. The Phoenix count was completely annihilated, so the Phoenixes aren't here to support those Colossi. A handful of Marines are headed towards that natural base as well. Still, no major economic damage. Just 17 probes did go down. They were forced to be pulled.
And all of a sudden, AZTEX has gone from a little bit ahead to equal to half the income of Azure.
Yeah.
It's so difficult when they both start big.
It is. Thankfully, Azure did expand. He's actually double expanding. It's crazy. He's getting his pocket base and his fourth at the same time. Economically, he is miles ahead when it comes to his army. Again, it isn't the largest army, but AZTEX likewise just doesn't have that much to work with either. He's done a great job at keeping his Colossi alive. He has 3 Colossus now. That's pretty impressive, but he still just doesn't have enough to support, doesn't have enough to break this natural location.
He does have a bunker, or not bunker, sorry, buffer. Both of them B words. Doesn't have much of a gateway buffer. I mean, like you said, his Phoenixes were taken out much earlier on, and at the very least, the Phoenixes can try to disable a couple of units.
Yeah, disable, go toe-to-toe with the Vikings as well. Meanwhile, one Colossus goes down, second Colossus goes down as well. It looks like Azure is going to pull the trigger here. There's almost nothing left. We have an overcharge, but even the overcharge isn't enough to keep everything alive. Looks like it will force him back for the moment, but the overcharge runs out.
Yeah, no, only for the moment. I like the force field on the bunker, preventing the SCVs from getting a repair on that, but we've kind of reached a point where Azure doesn't even need the bunker. He doesn't need the bunker, but he's still going to get Neo Steel Frame for it anyway.
I was about to say the same thing, man. He has Neo Steel Frame and high-sec auto tracking for the auto turrets and the bunker.
Does he actually?
He does. That's why there's 6 Marines in there. What an animal.
No, I meant high-sec auto tracking. I didn't even notice he had high-sec auto tracking for the missile turrets.
Oh my god. He's crazy. Oh my god.
And he's getting... Oh, okay, the planetaries are back home. I thought for a second he, build a planetary in the third base or something.
He's taking a 5th and a 6th. He's double expanding once again, just to make sure he doesn't throw this away. There's a disruptor, but disruptors don't shoot up.
Azure's having fun.
He's getting factories in the face of his opponent.
Yeah. Well, because he knows he needs tanks. If he wants to maintain the siege, he needs a siege unit, you know? And why would you build the tanks at home and move them across the map when you could just build them here?
Yeah, this is just 5-head gameplay, This is just...
This is 72D chess.
The Aussies, they do a little bit different down under, right? They make the production in your opponent's space.
That's the problem here. AZTEX, he's looking at it upside down.
Oh no!
There's a Viking here to catch the War Prism. Oh, but Azure doesn't notice it in the end.
Yeah, he doesn't notice it in the end. The Viking is going to go down. AZTEX is going to try and take a ninja base here on the right-hand side. Welcome, everyone, to Sparkling Tuna Clown Fiesta.
That's what we should call it.
Enjoy your stay.
We should make another. We should make another reward, like how we have the raffle. Call it the Sparkling Tuna Clown of the week.
The clown of the week. Who's gonna get it? Azure AZTEX says Azure is
building a planetary.
Wow.
Or I'm hoping it's a planetary. It's probably gonna be an orbital.
Oh my god, that confidence of Azure is insane, but AZTEX, he just goes across the map. He doesn't care. There's literally nothing at home to defend, and Azure doesn't realize this, and AZTEX is going for the base trade.
And you know what? There's actually no production here for Azure back home. He's building a bunch of barracks now, but other than that, it's just one factory, one barracks, one, Okay, he actually has a couple of barracks. I didn't even notice that. Yeah. Okay, he's fine. Azure is fine. I was trying to spin a narrative where it's like, oh, you know, AZTEX, he has a chance here in the base trade, but he really doesn't.
He's got a little bit of a chance. You know, the production is going to trickle in, and Azure isn't turning around.
Wait, hold up.
There we go.
Wait. Yeah, for a quick second, like, is that a... Okay. I thought I was blind. The factory is in the air. I thought for a second there was a factory and starport. Yeah. Look, but this is good for Azure because he's tricking his opponents.
He is tricking his opponent. The Liberators are turning around. The Vikings are turning around as well. They're here to just shell away at the Colossi, at the War Prism, and now it's just Libs versus everything else. He lands the Vikings. And
but you know what? The landed Vikings.
Oh.
Don't die to the Purification Nova. I'm really reaching here. I'm really trying to, find some victories here for AZTEX.
He's fighting his heart out, but every unit goes down across map. The main force as well. GG gets called, and Azure takes the series 2-0.
In style, too. What can I say? Like, Brisbane's in good hands. In the absence of Ryan and Oreo.
True. It's in good hands. Azure has reclaimed that throne as the king of Brisbane. He takes down AZTEX 2-0, as you said, in style.
Oh, yeah. We thought that we were reserving the, the clown games for when we cast Honmono or when we get to the finals, but Azure, he comes right off in the first round and says, you know what, I got you guys. I know what you want to see.